And when they do that, they pull out the magic that is in the artist, in the individual. They take whatever is in the product, whether it's a singer or a
singer or soap,
or whatever,
or
soap, right? They find out what is special about that, and they magnify that through a brand that kind of reinforces or emphasizes that uniqueness. Yeah. So when we think about our brand, the first thing we need to think about is like, what is it that makes me unique?
This is the Utah Business Spotlight. I am Peter Anthony. I'm your host. I am here with my buddy, Ernie, and he is the CEO, founder, president of Ernburn. This guy is a legend in the marketing industry. We're going to take it to the next level today. We're going to be dropping nuggets, pieces of wisdom, and we're just going to pontificate on stuff that's probably not even useful. But here's what you have to do first. You have to subscribe, you have to like, you have to share, you have to leave a naughty comment. Tell me you don't like my new glasses. Tell me you don't like my shirt. Tell me you don't like something, and we can talk about it too. Ernie, welcome, man. Brother, it is so cool to have you on today. I am stoked
too, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah, and I love the jacket and the shirt. And he does, you don't see it, but he's got red Converse on.
Chuck Taylors.
Mm-hmm. You got he's sporting an old school 1970s. And he's got the red jacket on his iPhone. Mm-hmm. He's got the red stripes on his M4 outside. We're loving it. The girls absolutely go bananas for you here. They think you're the coolest. They've been following you for years. I've heard about all of your epic marketing components. You took some companies to the next level. You reinvented some companies. That's what you do. Yeah. So share a little about earnburn.com.
It's kind of weird. I started as an artist. I wanted to draw for a living. I wanted to work for Disney. But I got a job at an awesome ad agency in Salt Lake City, and I learned how important it is to create visual kind of stories for branding and marketing. And I learned from the best people in the business.
It's the best, right?
And when you're producing marketing content, you realize really quickly that those things can be individual pieces that kind of like standalones, and then they die. Mm-hmm. But if you build those elements in a consistent and a cohesive brand story, each of those different components actually magnifies the next one.
Yeah, and that's great marketing.
Oh, that's absolutely.
You need to develop the relationship from one piece to the next piece, which creates that future pacing that allows us to start to look through it. And you can see that happening with influencers. Yeah. The ones who are really good are always projecting. They're always future pacing. The ones that are trying too hard are like, oh, I'm going to tell you the solution in the end. Really? No kidding. You're going to try to keep me around for the whole damn thing. But when you see guys like Peter McKinnon, who you just want to stay to the end. Yeah. He doesn't have to say it because he's creating the relationship. And I'd see you do that with some crazy brands that you'd never have a relationship to. Tell us about some of them.
Well, I think the biggest one that most people know about is the company called Maverick. It's a gas station. There's nothing about gas stations are inherently cool or attractive or exciting.
That make you want to go there.
Most people have a terrible experience with gas stations. They're dirty. Mm-hmm. Everything's overpriced. Nobody loves to wake up on a Tuesday morning going, today's gas day. Yeah. No one does that. And so you have to create an experience around something that's commodity that will draw attention to it and make it likable. And the only way to do that is to create a personality and a look and feel around it. Every business has a personality, whether they intend to create one or not. Mm-hmm. Most are boring. Yeah. Most brands suck. And I try to create brands that don't.
And what's interesting is when you say that, most people overemphasize their relationship with their own brand, right? Yeah. They think they're cool, so they think their brand is cool, and they're generally wrong on both accounts. They're not as cool as they think, and their brand definitely is not as cool. It's because their marketing sucks. There might be a book.
There's a book called Your Brand Sucks.
Your Brand Sucks. Yeah, I've heard of it.
I wrote that.
You wrote that book? Oh, man. He wrote that book. Your Brand Sucks.
What a terrible name for a book, right?
But
it's like the whole point is like
segue.
it's to give people like a breakthrough moment to go like, does my brand suck?
Yeah,
Like,
you got to give them a moment of pause.
Yeah, it's like, does my brand suck? And the reality is most people talk about the functionality of their product. My product does this really good. And it, gives you this benefit. That's awesome. But if no one even sees you, they're not going to be listening to that pitch. So how do you stand out in an authentic and remarkable way?
And it's interesting. Like when I look at, because we specialize in digital marketing, and we're really good in that space. I know you're a genius in the AI space as well. And as I look at them, and I watch people destroy their brands, they first start by destroying their culture, right? Because they think that their culture is predicated around their idiosyncrasies. So when you start to make some money, right, and you start to become a little bit successful, two things happen. First, you take away, you polish who you are, and you take away the idiosyncrasies, because that's generally the repulsive stuff, right? And when I say repulsive, it's just pushing away. It's the stuff that will just push people away slightly. So you get rid of that, and then people start to become drawn to you. Then you have a little success, and then here's what brands do. Then they start to integrate one little idiosyncrasy and say, well, maybe people really like me and I didn't know. They didn't. And then they put 2 and 3 and 4, and all of a sudden they're burping in the conference room, they're farting in the hallways, they don't do their hair, they speak loudly, they're inappropriate, and I'm just describing myself now.
Okay.
Right. So, but all of a sudden,
how candid.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm being vulnerable. But what happens is that you take all of these things that you think make you funny or make you palatable, and then you push them away, and they don't actually make you funny or palatable. And I see owners do that to their brands all the time, and then they start to try to introduce components into their brand that are just not congruent with the outcome that they're searching for. So we're working with a cookie company right now.
Oh yeah,
and they had
love cookies.
I do too. Right.
Can they pay you in cookies?
No, but they pay me so much money I can buy a lot of cookies.
Okay, good. Share those cookies.
Right. But one of the things was they like, how do you 10x a campaign? Like, if you have 75 SKUs, you want to tell everybody that you just invented this new thing that's so yummy, but that's not where your money's coming from. So when you look at a brand like Maverick, how were you able to discern? Because when I walk in, I see some distinct things that have happened that have changed the way other people are retailing. Talk about that.
When people walk into a Maverick store, we wanted to create an experience where they felt uniquely in a different environment.
Different environment, meaning not a gas
station.
Right.
Or not a typical gas station. The initial research we found when we were talking to convenience store customers and Maverick customers alike was like, most people had a bad experience with a convenience store, or they have a bad attitude toward convenience stores, gas stations. But we learned in our investigation that story turned when they would share experiences about going on a family vacation or going snowboarding, fishing, hunting, camping, whatever it is, right? Their attitude changed when they were on their way to an adventure. And we thought, what if Maverick became the place where people start their adventure? Now, we weren't talking about gas, nachos, hot dogs, all the products we have. We weren't saying, hey, our products are going to be more valuable or cheaper or whatever. We thought, what if we change the attitude by creating a different experience? The experience of going on adventure. So everything about the brand became filtered through a adventure lens. What does the store look like? What does our language look like? What do our billboards look like? What does our office look like?
So I want to point out to everybody who's watching that you did 2 unique things, and you're just walking through them because that's the way ad agencies work. But it's really important for our audience who might not ever get to work with big agencies right? So first you identify that people buy into experiences, not price points.
Right. Right.
Right. So the first thing that you want to do when you're out and you're putting together your brand is ask yourself, how do I identify what is the experience people have with me? Forget about the price point of your product or package. So first, identify the experience. And then the second thing that you did, which is so important, that I really want to give you kudos for that, is you said, how do I integrate the idea of that experience into every touch point, whether it's in store, it's as you're pulling up, it's our signs, it's our advertising, our website, the billboards. Everything has to be congruent. What we see most solopreneurs and newpreneurs and small businesses do that can't afford big agencies is their complete lack of congruency. So no one ever really knows. And people say, I'm a brand manager. Do you watch this all the time? Because it drives me bananas. Like, what do? I help people polish their brands. And I'm like, you don't know anything about branding. You've never branded anything. You're just somebody who picks out pretty logos, right?
I would like a designer or a stylist.
Yes.
You know, and they would call themselves a branding person.
Yeah.
And oftentimes this jacket, my car, everything is tailored to have a distinctive and congruent look and feel.
Yeah.
Now, I don't wear my pajamas look like this, but when I go out in public, when I'm performing or when I'm speaking, there's red involved in that. Mm-hmm. There's also a high level of positive energy that I bring. And I'm not always this positive, always this energetic. My wife doesn't want to have me on all the time.
Sure.
But that's a consistent experience I want my audience to have.
And I go back to that. If you're a budding, stylist who wants to be a brand manager, the interesting thing is when I started in the professional beauty industry in '89, I got to be one of the youngest educational directors, and my job was to take complex things and share them with an audience who didn't love complexity, right? So hair cutting is geometry and math. Okay. That's what it is. Hair color is scientific, it's formulations, chemistry, and integrated into geometry. So it's even harder, right? And it all works on a canvas that has an opinion, right? It's going to talk back to you. Like when you're an artist, if you're drawing on a paper, it's
not going to complain.
You're the only one who knows it sucks, right? Totally. But when you're cutting or coloring somebody's hair, they're going to tell you, this is not what I had in mind, even if it's great. Yeah. So it was interesting, but the idea is that, styling something, when I would do either, sometimes I got called in to do Debbie Gibson's hair or the Britney Spears' family or any of the delta of all of the celebrities that I've worked with and all the magazine covers. I was the stylist, but there was an art director.
Right.
But here's the interesting
There's
part.
a strategy or an objective.
A congruent strategy and objective, because that piece integrates with the direction of that brand.
Right, absolutely.
And that brand's experience. So when you're working with somebody who's the number one singer in the world, they have a brand. They did not develop the brand. Incredible production companies that have done it hundreds of times come in and they just, okay, cool. And they work, it is a collaborative team. Yeah. And when they're really good, you get something extraordinary.
Yeah. And when they do that, they pull out the magic that is in the artist, in the individual. They take whatever is in the product, whether it's a singer or a
singer or a soap,
or whatever,
or
soap, right? They find out what is special about that, and they magnify that through a brand that kind of reinforces or emphasizes that uniqueness. Yeah. So when we think about our brand, the first thing we need to think about is like, what is it that makes me unique? What is it that makes me special? Because or what do I want to be special about me? Because as soon as you find out what that is, then you can fashion a look and feel that highlights that difference.
Right. And I love that. That's, for me, it's there's an underlying idea that I look and say, what's special about me? What's special about me, I might push back a little, because I think you do this naturally. What's special that the market will relate to.
Yes. Yeah. It has to be aligned.
That's matter of
true.
fact to you. It's like breathing, right? It's like, oh, of course there's oxygen in the air. I just assumed, like the pizza parlor says pizza parlor. I assume I'm going to get pizza. Right. And I assume there's going to be, dough, cheese, and sauce on the pizza. Right. So when we're talking to professionals, you're saying, hey, what's special? But what you really might mean is what's special that the audience will relate to.
I've got to tell you, I worked with a car dealership. This is a perfect case in point. I said, let's do some research on who's buying cars, who's buying your model of cars. It was a Mazda dealership. We found about 52% of the cars, Mazda cars, were being purchased by women. If you're a woman and you've ever gone through a car buying experience, it's usually atrocious. Men are very sexist, the men who sell it. And I said to this dealer, I go, why don't you become the place where women buy cars, not just Mazdas, and you're not selling to everybody? Because any woman who's buying a car, whether it's a Mazda, Chevy, Subaru, whatever, if they heard about this place where women buy cars, they're going to try that experience, right? So I said,
corner the market.
Let's create an experience for women. He goes, let me think about this.
I love that.
He comes back and he says, there's no way I could do that. We would have to transform so much about the way we behave and think that we'd have to hire differently. We'd have to think differently. And he says, I can't get there. And
but
so
it's
I think
true to a point.
That could have been, they could have crushed it.
They can crush
but
it.
It has to be part of their soul.
Yeah, they have to hire differently, and you have to think differently. And my friend Howard, do you know Howard Lim?
I don't know if I do.
From Shy at Day, and he has his own company. He's amazing, and he was on the team.
By the way, Shy at Day, big agency.
Yeah,
anybody in the agency world knows Shy at Day.
So they were on that Think Differently for Apple, and when I look at that, the idea is you have to remove yourself and then rebuild yourself. And you have to be willing to do that. And branding managers or people who are doing branding need to know what that relationship looks like and the possibility of the no. I might not be ready to rebrand myself. We've worked with many companies that have hired us as consultants, and I'm like, you're just not ready for prime time. You're truly not, whatever it is, especially in the beauty industry. When you're in the professional beauty industry, you really have to determine where you're going to be to the market. Are you
the position?
Yeah. What's, in the place. Are you, and your niches are very segmented because they're very loyal.
Yeah.
So someone might be using Chanel lipstick for 30 years. Yeah. That's a long acquisition for a client.
Yeah. It's tough to break into.
It's almost impossible to get them to switch. Yeah. So, and I want to weave back to Maverick, because one of the things that you did, which I thought was incredibly cool, was you changed the positioning of the counters. So you said convenience store. So the initial reaction for every convenience gas station store was to copy a miniature supermarket, which is rows of aisles and no integration, right? So you're kind of lost, and they didn't understand the philosophy of the supermarket with headers and captures and eye level, and they're just copying what they didn't understand, and then it never really worked. So they didn't have that turnover. Tell me about how you designed the interior of those stores to.
Well, the interior, my responsibility was to draw attention. The traffic and stuff, that's actually handled by a different department at Maverick. But we as a group, as executive team, said we need to do a few different things. Back when we first started at Maverick, like the stores they're called those aisles, they're called gondolas. Okay, the gondolas are stacked with all this merchandise. Oftentimes those gondolas are so stacked that they're so high you can't see to the other side of the room. So what that does is it creates a maze. It kind of shortens the eye line. And what we need to do is when people walk into the store, we need to take them where we want them to go.
So I want to position the audience. So there is a reason it creates a maze. The supermarket needs you to get lost because there is a reason that the butter and eggs are in the furthest corner. They need you to get lost. There is a reason that you can't go get your meat, which would you imagine would be right in the front, when 80% of the meat sales are ground beef, right? Or chicken, right? They want you to get lost in the maze.
Yeah, yeah. In gas stations, though, it's a little different because they're smaller.
And it's a totally different moment.
Yeah.
You don't want to be lost in the maze. Lost in the maze means less purchases.
Yeah. Frustration.
Lost in the maze of the supermarket means greater purchases.
Yeah. So we want people to go, the places we want the customers to go is where the fountain and coffee is and where the food is. And we were hiding that. So it's like you walk into a gas station, you go, I don't even know where's the fountain drink? Where's the food? Well, we need to put that front and center.
Yeah,
but it needs to be at the back, so they have to walk through all the stuff for impulse buys, get what we want them to get, and then leave. But
it's so smart, and the way it's set up, I'm just like, man, I loved it because that was our specialty, like selling retail and professional units, and you know the positioning of your product. You can't copy you won't get bigger if you're a luxury boutique. You're not going to get bigger copying a supermarket, right? You have to know why they've done what they've done. Mm-hmm. You have to know. So gondolas in a supermarket are different, right? So in a gondola in a supermarket are the tables, the round tables that are built up.
Oh, gotcha.
Right, and then you have the headers, and then you have the halls, right? So when I walk you down the hall, anything that I want, if I put you on the bottom, you're never going to get sold.
Yeah, it's lost.
It's lost, right?
It's like premium. By the way, those people they pay to be on the show.
Oh, I know. I used to get paid. We used to get checks from. I can't tell you the name of the company because we're on a podcast, but we're the only company in the world that ever got checks from this big major manufacturer of professional beauty products that's represented in every country in the world, and it might have a name that
people
would
know.
Be understood in France, right? But ultimately, they were the only ones to ever give us money to put their stuff on our shelves because we sold so much stuff.
Yeah,
we knew how to sell stuff, and it's what I love talking to you about is you're a storyteller. And guys, if you want to start selling your goods, your services, your solutions, your expertise, man, tell the story that makes sense to the person who's buying it in the moment. And here's the other thing that I love.
You remember stories better.
But you also understood, Ernie, this is why you're a genius and you're my new best friend, is because stories sell, facts tell. We've all heard that. But the interesting part is I want to hear a different story in a different moment. Because the syntax, the order in which you tell stories, determines how many products you're going to sell. Right? So if I want to sell myself and I'm on a first date, I don't say, oh my goodness, you're gorgeous. I've been looking for someone who's gorgeous and smart and has great hips that is going to bear fantastic children. Clearly, we're going to be married. Right? That's out of syntax. It's not the first thing I should say.
Right.
The first thing I should say is, oh, I really love your eyes. That dress looks fabulous on you. Thank you for so much for taking the time, right? You want to build the rapport because that moment, because it's a first date, demands rapport in the first position versus the CTA in the first position.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. In order to get on that first date, you have to get attention.
Yeah.
And branding to me is that initial catch your eye.
Yeah.
When I consult with people or organizations, what I find they've lost their brand by trying to do what everybody else in the industry is doing.
Oh, yeah. Apple and Microsoft are a great example of that. When you walk into the Microsoft store, isn't it interesting they have tables that are white, But they missed something because their stores don't do what Apple stores do.
Yeah.
They missed something.
Apple's always created a brand story about being creative. We're going to help you be more creative. And Microsoft has always said, you know what? We're not about creativity. We're about getting work done. And so those two personalities will attract different types of people. So creative people, designers, people who think they're creative or who appreciate creativity will pay more money to be associated with a product that's associated with creativity, even though functionally they can do the same things.
What's interesting about even, going back to the artistic component with Apple and Microsoft, what's interesting is I grew up in New York City. So I got to see the transition of Soho from the 70s into from the mid 70s all the way into the late 80s, early 90s. There was a huge transition. So I remember in the early 70s, my aunt, who was an artist, got a loft in Soho.
Okay.
And I could hear my parents talking in the car when we were going to visit her, right? It's like, she's got this big loft because she was poor. She was a starving artist, right? But she got this loft space that was 5,000 square feet that she could afford in Soho. And now here's the interesting part of the transition. Art is cool. Creativity is cool. And then it becomes something different. It becomes cooler. So when you go to Soho today, what do you see? You see Louis Vuitton, you see Prada, you see Gucci. You see all these fashion brands that want to be cool because they want to be associated with the cool. Because what does art draw? Art draws attention, but it also draws people who purchase it. The purveyors, the people who are positioning themselves to be of taste and nobility.
And usually they have more money.
And they have much more money, and then the art becomes a status symbol. I think now, as many creative people love to use Apple because they've adopted it. I am one of them. I love it. I love the Apple ecosystem. But I also noticed that it's very cool to have the coolest Apple stuff. And people have Apple stuff just because it's cool.
It's a status.
Yeah.
It helps with status.
And that's when you create your brand story, you'll see the evolution of that story move. So it is cool to be the creative. It is cool to think differently. And that will acquire that critical mass that's necessary for domination.
What's interesting, though, is that you've got most of the cell phones in the world are not Apple. Even though Apple's cool, when I speak to organizations in the audience, it's really, really easy for me to identify who the CFO is and the engineers. I'll say, okay, raise your hand if you don't own an Apple product, an Apple phone. Okay, you got these people. Keep your hands up if you're a CFO or an engineer. It's like, it's a polarization. It is so obvious,
funny.
right?
Yeah, it's cool.
It's because those people pride themselves on being functional.
Yeah.
Okay, they think that the fluff and brand of Apple is just it says they're like it's cute that you're willing to spend more money on a product that does the same thing, but you can't hack into an Apple like I can hack into this. The rest of us creative people are going, why would I ever want to hack into my phone? And they're going, why wouldn't you? Right? So
it's
what's kind of interesting is like
conversation.
Apple isn't better. It says we polarize creative people.
Yeah.
And people who are like that, they go, I love this. And then you got the Microsoft and Google phones and stuff like that. They're going, we're not the creatives. We're intellectual. We're smart. We're smarter than those other guys. And that'll pull a group too, that we're proud of who we are. So great brands attract a fan base. It's not like who's better or worse. It's like just attract people.
Yeah, they attract people based on a clear and identifiable set of values that are executed daily, right, in their lives. So they're actually easy to repurpose to because they're decision-making patterns. My partner, Mark, for those of you who know, my partner, Mark, is an Android guy. And he's the one who's in charge of making sure our AI and our automations and our integrations.
He's an engineer.
He's totally an engineer running our entire team of Android users. And then here I am in the front, right? I'm designing it. I'm making it beautiful. I'm integrating. I'm creating the copy. I'm the face of the brand, which I hate being the face of anything. I have a face for radio. Thank goodness this is a podcast. But the idea is, my whole team is using Apple, which is interesting. Now, you want to hear an interesting stat, and I know you know it already. What do you think the percentage of iPhone Pro to the iPhone is? The dilution of the percentage. So iPhone Pro versus iPhone. What do you think the percentage?
Gosh, I don't know. I honestly,
If you
I
had
don't
to
know
guess.
that. If I were to guess,
the iPhone Pro is twice as much money as the iPhone.
you know what? I would say it's 50-50. That's my gut feel. But
Yeah.
what is it?
Could be. It's interesting. It's almost 90-10.
90 Pro? Okay. So 10% of the people are going, I'll save some money.
A little bit less. Maybe 8% of the people get into the Apple ecosystem but most of the people upgrade to the Pro. Yeah, okay. Which is interesting, which I found very interesting. I just found that out maybe 3 months ago. I never would have thought that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to me because it's the same as books, right? People buy them, but they don't read them. Courses, online courses.
Right.
They purchase them, but they never take them.
Right.
They'll go, 70% of people don't.
They don't know how it all works.
They don't.
They use all the normal functionality, but they're not even using the pro functionality.
They don't even know what the pro functionality is, which is an interesting. It's interesting in the story of Apple because it's like, well, if you're a creative, you need the creative tool.
You need it all.
That's what I was getting back to. You need to be in the Pro series. You need a MacBook Pro. You need an iPad Pro.
Right.
You need the Pro headphones. Why? Because the pros where the pros live.
Right.
So if so of course I have an Apple iPhone
it's like
Pro.
Nike or something like that. Do you want to wear what Michael Jordan wears?
Yeah.
Or do you want to wear what like somebody
and then I'm like, but it's got a better camera. My wife's like, okay, it's got a better camera. I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. This camera could do all these things. She's like, then why do you have a Leica? Right? It's 'cause I got the bill for the Leica. Why do you have a $5,000 camera and an iPhone? Because if I ever want to take a picture with my iPhone, it takes a great picture.
Right.
It's so interesting to watch. Share with me, who are your favorite clients today? Now that you're in your Ernburns.com, who's your favorite type of clients to work with today?
It's interesting. I work across multiple industries. I'm currently working with a convenience store petroleum company. What I love about working with those types of people is they typically they have no clue about like what makes them special, what makes them different, how they can stand out. And I love being able to come up with a story with them and a look and feel with them that is so different. They're excited about it. And the competition, the bar is pretty low. So when you do something really special, you
can move that delta.
It takes you way, way further. So any organization that struggles to compete in a very, very in a commodity commodity market, software, gas stations, dentists, plumbers, they all do the same thing. But I love helping people stand out and tell their story.
I love that, man. That's so cool. And it's so interesting. I'm going to leave us with this thought. One of my friends did that with car washes, right? Because it was so, there's so many car washes and nothing really differentiates them. So what he did was he put nail salons and car washes after we met. And he was like, he learned a little about what I do. And he's like, yeah, and so the ladies would get their nails done while the car's getting washed and crushes it. He charges twice as much for the car wash because someone does it for you.
Oh, awesome! Yeah,
and then they're getting their nails done, so they
feel pampered.
And he sold 170 of them when he exited.
Awesome!
Over 20 years, he acquired 170, and he just crushed it out of Texas. Very cool story. Very, very brilliant man. Everybody knows who he is. If you're an entrepreneur, you've read the book where he might be a rich dad in that book.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it's interesting how you're applying these things to marketing and to entrepreneurship and to businesses. I love listening to you, man. Well, how can people find out more about you?
Easiest way to find me is ernburn.com. ERNBURN.com. All one word. It's a nickname my brother gave me, my twin brother gave me when I was in high school.
There's another one of you running around?
There's another one of us. He's a marriage
Does he wear blue?
He does not wear blue. But you know what's weird is like every time we got a present when we were kids, one would be red, one would be blue. But usually I would get the blue one.
Oh, so you coveted red.
I coveted red.
You stole it from him.
Yep.
You took his identity and he's crying in the corner.
He used to call me Ernburn. He wanted to be a rapper in high school, and he was always rhyming and stuff. And so Ernburn, the butter churn, was my nickname. And that stuck. So I just use Ernburn. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Yeah, I tried that. I'll tell you.
What was your nickname?
I'm not going to tell you until we're off air. And then I will tell you. Hey, man, this has been the Utah Business Spotlight. This is Ernburn.com, my friend Ernie Walker. He is crushing it. If your company needs to reimagine their brand and find a stronger way to connect to their audience, this is the man you want to speak to. We love him. Thank you so much, Ernie. Thank you, man.
You betcha. Thanks for having me.
It's been fun. Like, subscribe, share, and leave some nasty comments because I know you don't like my glasses.